And welcome to the Visitor Experience Package webinar. We are very happy to host you today in this super exciting new feature that we have released in a couple of weeks ago. And it's all about redefining the customer engagement, capturing data, and unlocking revenue. So without further ado, just a quick round of introductions. My name is Perseu. I'm the Senior Media and Content Marketing Manager here at Qt, and I am particularly thrilled about this feature because as a marketeer, it's very close to my heart and very close to something we marketeers are always struggling with. But before spoiling anything, Lotte, welcome, and maybe just a quick round of introductions.
Yeah, thank you, Perseu. Thanks for having me. My name is Lotte. I work here at Qt as a senior product manager, and I've been working on this feature for a bit more than a year now. And so I'm just as excited, if not more, to see it live. And I'm excited about this session.
Super. And so just a quick agenda for the day. We'll do an overview of the visitor engagement feature and the value it brings. We'll also look at the building blocks that make up this feature. And then we'll do a quick demo deep dive in how to build it and how to use it. We also have some really kind of interesting return on investment perspective that we collected during the beta phase of this feature, and some great success stories that we had some partner customers joining us early on in this journey, and we really want to share those stories with you. And we'll wrap up with a quick Q&A session. So again, if you have any questions, do drop them in the Q&A toolbar in Zoom. So without further ado, Lotte, tell us about the Visitor Experience Package.
Yeah, of course. Well, so the Visitor Experience Package is all about not only creating a branded experience when you have a waiting room, but also making it interactive. So firstly, with this Visitor Experience Package, you get the capability to fully customize your colors and the background. You can also add your logo. You can customize the wait time. You can add your own colors and fonts as well. In addition to that, you can send real-time updates to your customers while they queue. That could be if you have any updates on inventory availability. You can also send customized email in case people sign up to get notified if they're not waiting. Also, I'm pretty sure some of you have used these embedded content options that we have, like playlists or YouTube videos or any social media feeds. So all of this, most of you will be familiar with, but the new thing, and this is where the excitement comes, that is the visitor engagement. And that's part of this new package as well. So today, that's going to be our main focus. And essentially what it is that it's this no-code, fully customizable interactive widget for the waiting room where you can do things like polls and quizzes and also collect emails, but much more on that a bit later. But with this feature, and that's probably what I'm super excited about, is that we move away from passive waiting and into interactive engagement. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, thanks, Lotte. So I just mentioned early on, as a marketeer, we kind of always find ourselves in the same struggle, which is like this idea of cutting through the noise and really earning attention from our customers or might be fans for a concert ticket. But there's kind of one moment where the attention isn't really a problem, and it's when people are waiting for something they really want, could be a product drop or could be a ticket on sale, etc. And every day we at Qt, we see millions of people that go through our queues in the system. And that is really a huge and untapped opportunity. And it was really what drove us to this new feature. And what's actually happening in the queue is that people join with like a really high intent, and they want to be, they want to be entertained and they want to engage. And the question becomes, are you capitalizing on this opportunity? And so today we really want to show you how to get the most out of this golden touch point.
Yeah. And I think, Perseu, you're spot on. I typically, obviously, I've worked on this feature for a bit more than a year, and I do refer to this as a golden touch point because you have all that eyeball time. And this golden touch point is one that can, as this screen shows here, can be used in so many different ways. We just, on this screen here, we see some of the use cases that we've seen during the past year. It could be educating customers. It could be promoting sponsorships and so many other things. But one of my favorite things about this new feature is that it is, in fact, a genuine win-win, because most of these use cases work both to boost sales and or business intelligence, but it's also at the same time something that we see very positive feedback from customers. So because it's really engaging them, and also how many organizations not just run with one event and use one use case, they actually can do multiple use cases in one event. But let's just check it out, see some super concrete examples on what that could look like. So this is a first example here. Where this is an event organizer or a sports club. I think it's basketball here, and they're using this widget to promote their VIP membership, so gamifying how the audience gets to know about it. We also have another use case, which in this case is a flight company or travel company, and how they're using a widget to capture preference data to then use for later personalization. Another example could be an online retailer. They're trying to drive signups for mailing lists, or it could be football clubs, selling shirts, cross-selling merchandise, or whatever it could be. And then I think we're getting to this slide where, yes, we've done a lot of tests, and thanks to all those wonderful customers of ours that has been willing to try it out with us, but throughout this, we have identified 6 core use cases. And yeah, anything from upsell to cross-sell, use it to just build hype, driving membership signups. But I think visitor engagement does really, and this is like the key point, it does give you the flexibility to design widgets around what matters absolutely most to your business.
Thanks, Lotte. That was a really, really interesting value proposition that the VXP and specifically the visitor engagement feature offers. But let's take a moment to just recap this and ask you, the audience, what the visitor engagement is. So I'll just, we have a little poll on screen if you want to answer. I mean, is it a new way to engage fans? Is it a no-code builder for highly scalable quizzes? Or is it a new promotional channel for sponsored content? Or is it, I guess, all of the above? So like you guys say, quite obviously, it's all of these, and that's why we are so excited to share this with you. So let's take a moment and actually look at how it actually works in practice.
So how does it work? Well, it's a 4-step framework. Basically, you start with design. Then you move on to engaging those visitors that are in the queue. You capture zero-party data that I know a lot of marketeers are crazy about getting. And then finally, you analyze to kind of see what are the trends here and how can we leverage all this nice data. So, but I would like to just dig into each of these steps in a little bit more detail, so we can get some knowledge out here. So, to begin with, the design process, or the design step. Right now, that consists of 4 slide types that you can mix and match however you want. So if we look at the first option here, we call that an information slide. That's great for welcoming visitors. Hello, welcome to this waiting room. Thanks for joining. Do you want to play along? It could also be used for mini micro affirmations, kind of like, if I select that golden shoe there, it could be like, nice choice. We love that too. So that's basically the information slide. We then also have 2 types of question slides, allowing 2 to 4 multiple choice answers. First, we have the image-based answers, which are great for product preferences or pick your favorite questions. We also have a text-based question option. And then finally, we have that email slide, which, of course, collects emails. And it does so with built-in consent. And typically, we see that one being used towards the end, only because that's when people are super-duper engaged. So A key point here is that these slide types can be used in so many different ways. They snap together in any order or length. Obviously, you can customize the colors and the text. So yeah, that's about the design step. Now, next, we move over to now having designed the widget, we're ready to go live. And this is where it comes to life. So on the screen here, we're just seeing some more examples of what it looks like for end visitors. So as you can see, it's this lightweight embedded interaction layer. And I think I know I'm biased, I'm the product manager of this tool, but I think one of the super strong things about this feature is that it's designed to feel native to the experience, not like a separate survey tool. Yeah, ultimately, of course, on this screen here is where we start capturing the data, which leads us over to the next point. And I know that data capture is something that marketing teams are very excited about, right, Perseu?
Yeah, true, Lotte. Exactly. Marketing, we are guilty. We just love to have an opportunity to capture good data, and specifically zero-party data, like the preferences that your customers share with you willingly in exchange for a better experience in this case. And of course, you can then export this data as a CSV file. And if your users submit their email in this widget flow with that consent form or that email form that Lotte just showed, you can actually link their preferences and answers to their email. And that is, of course, like a huge opportunity. And then this capture then leads to the final step of this 4-step process, which is to actually analyze. So it's you got your data, you exported your CSV, and now it's time to analyze. And we see a lot of value here. I mean, you can level up your personalization, you can inform and improve your loyalty programs. And we've even seen some cases where customers have used this to guide their product strategy and design choices. So we'll touch upon that a little bit later on in the webinar. And of course, the obvious one is to just grow your mailing list, and this is really, really valuable. Right, Lotte?
Yeah, 100%. But I think on the topic of data, a question that I've naturally gotten quite a lot is, well, how reliable and how compliant is all of this? So um, I want to just take a moment to just cover this. So because we're Qt, we know that the Q is there on your most critical moment, and therefore reliability and compliance isn't just like a nice to have; it's absolutely fundamental. And so I wanted to take this moment to say that is actually the core of visitor engagement. It's built with compliance in mind. It's built with reliability in mind as a number one criterion. So if we just take the first one here, which is on the compliance part. So all the data is handled within Qt. There's no third-party trackers or cookies involved whatsoever. You own and control the data. It has this built-in consent that I talked about just a while back. And then the entire setup here is fully GDPR compliant. You can see we have those two little stats there, or what are they called? Stickers?
Stickers, yeah.
So it's fully GDPR compliant. And in addition to that, it's aligned with our existing compliance standards. So we have that covered. And then on the other side, just as important, the reliability. So visitor engagement is completely isolated from the core waiting room functionality and traffic control. So if a widget were to ever fail or slow down or maybe not load, the waiting room itself would remain completely unaffected. And I have to just stress, we've never seen anything, but it's just to kind of say, if that was ever to be the case, it's not going to affect the waiting room or the end user experience. So I could talk about this slide forever, but I do want to just make one more point here, is that we, this survey tool is natively built into Qt, which also means there's a point here that says we've load tested it, but it really does mean that we scale, and it scales like any other service that we run. So there are no limits in terms of that. So I think in short, I'll try to make this short. In short, you got this visitor engagement, you got the engagement and insights without adding risk that is technically or legally. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks, Lotte. And I think there's a good point about the load testing. We've also ran the visitor engagement feature with real customers already to a high volume. We'll get back to that in just a
Yeah.
little bit, but it's super interesting, right?
Should we do a demo, Perseu?
Yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah,
But let's jump on. Let's jump on for sure.
because we talked about now how it works. So yeah, we wanted to just take a moment to show it to you in action. So what we're seeing here, for those who don't know the GoQt platform, this is it. And under the visitor experience menu, you'll find your custom themes, your waiting room themes, but then you'll also find our new feature, visitor engagement. And that's the page that we're on right here. So what we're seeing here is just your overview of all your widgets that you've created. And from this, you can manage individual widgets, you can create new ones, you can download the data, you can also delete, duplicate widgets, and so forth. And then, because we really have focused on making this whole feature and the build process as intuitive and easy to use as we possibly could, I actually asked Perseo if he could maybe walk us through a demo that he prepared for this webinar. So
Yeah.
Perseo, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Lotte. I mean, yeah, Lotte, you put me a little bit on the spot here, but I'll do my very best. It is very intuitive, and I think I think I'll live up to the moment to be able to explain this. I have myself been playing around with the visitor engagement quite a bit for demo purposes in our website, etc. And we created something for you guys. So in this case, we have this webinar demo here, and we already kind of pre-prepared some of the questions, and we're going to create some new ones for you to see, so we don't take too long. And these are here are the slide types. That's exactly what Lotte has touched upon before. So we have the info slide, a couple of two different question type slides, and the sign up form. So we're going to start with creating a question slide here, and it already starts with the preloads, the global styles. We'll touch upon that in just a second. But so you kind of like you don't have to configure that for every slide. And then we're gonna put a few questions here, and in this case, it's a 4-question slide. So we're going to add a new one and also choose a multiple so that people can have to pick the correct answer. And then we're going to add here an info slide where you can add an image. In this case is a fictitious hotel for this with a partner code. And you can add the title and the subheading here. And then finally, we're going to add the sign up form. Like Lotte said, very often this happens towards the end of a flow because it's when people are most engaged. And we're going to add a kind of a hero image as well, title and a subheading, really to incentivize people to go through and submit that form. And then you have all the compliance requirements there as well. And so this was pretty straightforward. And then at any point in time, you can actually edit, change the order of the slides, or edit, in this case, the global styles, which configures or determines the colors and the alignment, etc., of your widgets in one easy to use panel. So that's about it. I think the widget is done, and we're going to save it now. And we're just going to very quickly show, like, to add the widget to your waiting room, you just go to your waiting room settings, and then under display, you will have a new drop-down menu where you have the attach widget, and you can just choose that widget we just created. And in this case, we're going to preview the widget very quickly. And I think that was it. I hope I did a decent job, Lotte.
That was probably the quickest demo of this that I've seen, but you did an amazing job, especially with
Thanks.
selecting the color. This white looks better than the orange on this background. I love it. Thank you, Perseo. So I think let's have a look at what, in this case, you built a widget. Now you're going live and you're ready to engage customers. So could we see what it looks like in real life?
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. So again, this is what visitors queuing would actually experience. They get to interact page by page or slide by slide. And eventually they're going to end up on, in this case, an email slide. That is optional. Again, back to the point, you can put these slides together however you want. But I think this is a great example of how, at least, again, I'm a little bit biased, but in my opinion, it does feel native to the experience. It is really a game changer, turning passive wait time into a moment where your customers interact, you collect data, and eventually it leads to a conversion. And all of this is happening in one seamless flow. Yeah. So thanks, Perseo. I think
You're welcome. You're
you
welcome.
did a super good job. We can't hear if people are clapping or, but I think you did a good job.
Yeah, thanks.
But of course, another question that I have gotten often as a product manager working on this is what kind of value does this really unlock? We can all agree that it looks nice. It's nice to have something that's interactive. So I want to just take a moment and make that a bit more concrete. So if we look across this past year and the widget's performance across more than 20 events and more than 2 million interactions, these are the stats that we're seeing on average. So we are seeing around 15% of unique inflow. They will answer at least one question. So that's how we measure the engagement. More importantly, how many people actually end up completing the whole thing. And so what we've seen is that once people start, they tend to finish. And around 80%, which is insane, actually go to complete the polar quiz. And that's even if there are multiple questions. Now, if we look at the email signup, specifically, how many of those who complete the experience then choose to leave their email at the end? So here, what we're seeing is that incentive makes a huge difference. So with even just a small reward, could be a voucher or a discount code, sign-up rates jump from that 10% to 72%. When there's no reward or basically hey, thanks for joining, leave your email. So there's definitely something there and a huge potential. But yeah, so it really doesn't take much. A light incentive definitely can increase. Now, these are the average numbers. And of course, they can be a little bit hard to put into context. Yes, okay, but what does that actually mean? So I want to just try to quantify what it could mean. So what we've done is we've found that most survey services, they start around $1 for a 5-question survey. So for our calculations, and you'll see that in the next slide, we're going to bring that number down and say, so 5 questions or 5 answered questions, we're going to say that costs 50 cents. Now, as per a DMA survey, the value of an email address is $49 or $50. Again, here, we want to just be super conservative and say, okay, well, let's say an email address is worth $5. So we want to just check out how those values work out for, let's say, just a mid-sized ticketing company, and then see what that could amount to with those averages that we've seen. So for a mid-sized ticketing company, let's say that they have 1 million visitors across a year. Then that amounts to 150 survey engagements. It's 120,000 completions, and so forth. So if we take that 120,000 times 5, that means that you have the worth of $60,000 of insights. If we then zoom in on the value of the email signups, you're looking at between 60 to 430K in captured value from emails alone. And again, that's per the $5 assumption. So there's absolutely some potential here. And on the next slide, I just tried to say, well, what does that look like if it's 10 million annual visitors, which some of you guys will be nodding. Yeah, we experienced that. So what could it look like? So I think, yeah, the ROI potential is huge. So
yeah, we definitely have some customers seeing this kind of and much more this kind of traffic on an annual basis for sure.
Exactly. So yeah, huge ROI potential.
Thanks, Lotte. So yeah, we really like. I mean, this is something we saw in the field as well firsthand, and that field was a set of very nice partner customers that joined us during the beta phase of this feature, and we really want to share just a few success stories with you guys because they really have some great points and great value points. that we observed in the real world. And we had one of the customers that said, I love the interaction of the visitor engagement feature. It's just a nice value add for doing something instead of just sitting there. So always this kind of entertainment perspective. And here we have three different use cases, one in ticketing, one in retail, and one in kind of more collectibles or loyalty space. And in Megatix, which is an Australian ticketing company, they run this festival called Beyond the Valley, and they saw a 13% engagement rate and a whopping 89% completion rate, which is just like astounding, to the point that Lotte mentioned before. And similarly, Bath Body and Body Works, which you probably are familiar, we'll talk a little bit more in detail in just a moment. But they ran a huge on sale for Candle Day, and they had 1.5 million responses during that, to the point of like not just stress testing, but like testing in the real world or verifying in the real world just the crazy volumes that this feature can accommodate. And they had a 61% completion rate, and then Sideshow, which, like I mentioned, is a collectibles company from North America. They saw an engagement rate of 12% and a completion rate of 88%, which again, crazy good numbers and very much above like normal baselines you see. And maybe just diving a little bit deeper in this relationship with the customers, like Corey Richardson, which is the account manager at Megatix, he shared several good points with us, but there were two things that really kind of stuck with us, which was, one of them is this idea of engaging fans while they wait and then understanding their preferences. And we see a lot of customers seeing value in this idea of understanding their preferences. And there's a great quote from him here. And then the other point is this that we've touched upon a little bit, which is this idea of entertaining the fans and building that brand affinity, with the idea of like just creating interactive experiences and reducing complaints, which really kind of makes the waiting a completely different experience. And there's some great examples here of the kind of design that they accomplished for that. And Lotte, you can take it from here.
Yeah, great example. Was amazing to work with these guys, but we also did work with Bath and Body Works, and they came at it from an angle of they just wanted it to be about creating a better customer experience for their customers on this very, very big day of theirs. So we spoke to Chris Fry, who's a product manager at Bath and Body Works, and we love Chris, but he said a lot of good things here. And I think most importantly, he was speaking to how it's a win-win for customers and the business, which we also talked about a little bit earlier. But what they did is that they promoted, used it to promote some products, and customers really engaged with the brand through doing that. And I think the second quote here shows that not only did they capture some data and entertained guests while they were waiting, but they also actually received positive feedback on social media from customers, and also internally it created a lot of excitement. So positive feedback all over. And then I think on the point of Sideshow, they create these, as you were saying, Perseu, they create these high-end handcrafted collectibles. They're actually pretty cool, and they're inspired by pop culture icons like Star Wars, and which I think this one shows here.
Yeah.
And as Mark highlights, for them it was firstly about connecting with the fans, but eventually, as they used the widget here more and more, they also started using it to understand preferences, which directly, as the quote says here, informed their product strategy. So I think that was a few nice use cases.
That's really great feedback from the customers, and informing your product strategies. Like, it's a fantastic kind of. I don't know that we even kind of imagined this when we first started building the feature, like I don't know, 18 months ago or something like that.
Yeah. No, at least not the engagement levels. We didn't foresee that, but anyways, yeah.
Cool. So I just wanted to get a bit of feedback, also take this moment to get a bit of feedback from the audience here, and ask everybody one more question. And is what would be the number one reason that your team would use VXP features for if you were to run it on your next queue. There's a few options here: improve your user experience, collect customer data, drive cross-sell or upsell opportunities, or build brand awareness. So I'll just give everybody a few moments just to answer. We're super curious to see where you guys kind of resonate with in terms of value prop of a feature of this nature. Even though, like we've said it many times, one implementation of this visitor engagement can drive many different value adds. But of course, it's interesting to see what's the one that really triggers you most. Yeah, a little bit of split across. I mean, there's a lot of people kind of saying driving cross-sell and upsell opportunities. That's number one, but also improving the user experience during the wait, coming out in number two. And we're like firm believers of this, like improving user experience and really giving that great user experience. We just see that over the long run, it also produces and brings such great value to bring brand affinity and customers coming back. But yeah, so thank you so much for sharing your views. But I was just going to say before we kind of like jump to the Q&A, Lotte, you probably want to just walk us through a little bit the packaging of this visitor engagement feature.
Yeah, 100%. What we've of course seen today is that well, I hope that's what you've seen, that with this visitor experience package, you really now can turn your waiting room from something passive into something that's much more valuable. And I think with this slide here, I hope it resonates and makes sense. Like the custom theme functionality, a lot of you guys out there have that functionality already. But with the visitor experience package, you get all the new features that sits here on the top. So it builds directly on the custom theme. So taking it again from branding to full engagement and a value channel. So this is all of these nice features are what you're going to get with the visitor experience package. So yeah.
Thanks, Lotte. Yeah, I hope that helped inform people. If you have any questions, drop them in the Q&A toolbar, and we're jumping into that right now. So I could notice during the webinar that there was already a few questions coming in. I'm just going to pull up the bar here, the Q&A modal so I can kind of read them. Maybe just we can take it from the top. Lotte, you probably had a lot of experience with our customers, and there's a question here about how would you recommend using the visitor engagement to sell memberships while keeping customers in the purchase path? Do you have any top tips?
That's a very good question, and actually a use case that we've seen quite a lot. So I can speak to what we've seen working, which is a little bit of a mix of that brand, quizzing on the brand, but instead of quizzing just on the brand, quizzing on some of the benefits that revolves around this membership. So, hey, do you get, I don't know, free bananas or free apples? Okay, great, you get free bananas. So gamify how you educate actually the visitors on the membership benefits, and then at the end, I would, instead of saying, hey, sign up to our mailing lists, sign up to become a member. And and we've seen that working as a matter of fact.
Yeah, exactly. And we also know that very often, I mean, speaking by my own experience, very often people don't even realize all the benefits that a membership for something might have. 100%. So it's a great opportunity to really walk people through those varied opportunities and membership benefits that you might have, right?
Exactly.
We have
that's probably my best tip. Hope
thanks, Lotte. Thanks. We have two other questions here that you probably can. I think they are very much. They're not the same, but they're kind of similar. One is regarding if the email sign-up forms integrate with MailChimp or other systems, and also CRM, and if there's an API connection. I mean, I know, but you probably are more informed of what's the actual status on this.
Yeah. Yes. The way it works now is that you can download a CSV, which of course then can be shoved into MailChimp or any BI tool really, or CRM tool. We have a very exciting backlog, and one of those more downstream data flows, like a little bit more automated, is something that we're looking into. But for now, it is a CSV file that you can then that you can upload on your own. So, but yeah, so the answer would be yes. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Lotte. Maybe just a couple more questions here that I have seen coming in. Where's the data stored?
Yeah, that's a good one as well. So it's basically the same infrastructure as the waiting room. So it's stored in a regional Postgres database. Yeah.
Okay.
Was there another question as well on that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple. We have a couple more. There's somebody here. Maybe I'll try to take this question. You can correct me if I say something. The question is that in some occasions or inevitably there are customers who need to queue, but they need to queue. They need their queue experience to be passive, and so does this new functionality have a way to be passive, or for users who need the experience to be passive? If I
Yeah.
understand this question correctly, the visitor engagement, even if it's triggered in a queue, it doesn't affect the behavior of the queue in any way. So
Yeah.
the waiting experience and the waiting in line in a queue is completely independent from the visitor engagement feature. So if somebody cannot interact with the screen, then nothing happens. You just continue your
Yeah.
queue, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And again, the widget is an optional add-on. You can use it when it makes sense. But I don't know. Maybe I have a one thing that I want to say. If you want to use it, we've had customers asking, well, could I just have it be one screen that plays something like some sort of media, and that option we also have. So it doesn't need to be this mini journey inside the waiting room. You can do just one slide of the widget, or maybe two. Like we've seen many different lengths, and of course that's also where you would consider the expected wait time, because obviously if people are not really waiting, then it doesn't make sense to ask 20 questions as
Yeah,
such. So yeah,
exactly. That's a very
yeah,
good point. Like there's definitely some thinking that needs to go into how is your user experience going to really kind of happen in the real world. So if you're
yeah.
expecting very short queue times, you should kind of like design the widget experience to match that.
I
And
actually want to make a point there,
yeah,
Perseu, that just on this note, what we've seen, and of course also how it's built, is that some are already adding the widget into the pre-queue. And so if I get to, let's say there's 8 questions, if I only make it through 4 questions in pre-queue and then the queue opens up, then I'm gonna be able to answer number 5 in the queue. So it kind of follows through with the different queue phases. Yeah, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%. And maybe
cool.
one more question here, Laura. Does can this visitor engagement slow down the waiting room in any way?
No, it cannot.
Thanks. Sure, that was short and punchy. I'll take one more here. There's a couple more questions. Can I always associate a response to a visitor? Maybe I can. I can. That's pretty. So what we mentioned earlier. By default, if people don't submit their email, then the questions would be or the answers would be anonymous. So that's the default behavior. It's all about you designing the experience so that people feel engaged and they will submit the email during the flow, right? And if they do submit the email, then yes, then the two things, the answers and the email will be put together. So you will be able to kind of associate the answers to a specific email address. But that's
Yeah,
not by default, of course, that's not the behavior.
it's 100% consent first approach that we've taken to this widget. So yeah, 100%. Good answer.
Maybe we'll do one final question here, Laura. There is a question that
Yeah.
says, is there any way to use the widget during the pre-queue that would have a timer or something to notify the customer the waiting room started?
So let's say I'm in a pre-queue and I think by default there's like a countdown to when the
Yeah.
actual queue kicks in. So that's automatically just there, and how it works. So we, at least also with the customers that we've worked with on this, like there's a very key interest in being very informative about. So when do we go from pre-queue to the queue, and then you'll be redirected. So the clarity on that, and also on expected wait time, definitely helps people to engage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have a bunch of best practices on how to communicate and inform the user as the flow is happening. And for sure, we have a countdown, and you can also have specific message coming up just before it happens. So like there are opportunities to make sure that the communication is very clear. I think that's about it in terms of time. So maybe we'll just start wrapping up, Lotte.
Yeah.
I just wanted, before saying thank you to everybody, I really wanted to just kind of wrap it up in one quick slide. If you are using waiting rooms today, we really believe there's an opportunity to get a lot more value out of them, right? And you've already, like, if you're in that situation, you've already won the attention of your customers, and you have that demand, and it's really like, why not capitalize on that demand and turn it into data? And we see the visitor engagement as a new brand touch point, like a win-win. Lotte spoke a lot about this, and a key source of data and customer insights for you to really learn more about your customers and improve their journey and their brand affinity, etc. And the opportunities that visitor engagement brings, what we have seen in the real world is that they are, I mean, maybe endless is a big word, but they're significantly more than like maybe at first it comes to mind, right? But some key commercial applications we see happening all the time is this idea of upselling and cross-selling, promoted related events and partners, and growing your membership scheme. So that's about it for our webinar today. We really, really appreciate you joining us. And once again, the session is recorded, so we'll be following up with an email with the recording for you to be able to rewatch it and see what you find interesting. If you have any questions and we did not get to answer them, please contact your success manager, and we will be in touch as soon as possible. Lotte, do you have any final words?
No, I just want to thank everyone who showed up. Hopefully it made sense, and then go get this feature. I'm excited to work with all of you on adding more new wonderful stuff to it. So yeah, but yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Lotte. Yeah, and for everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you may be. Goodbye for now.